All right, guys, what's up? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. And the footage in the background should be Halo ranked, and you guys don't have to worry about seeing my ugly mug at the top right-hand corner of the screen this time. So this is separate footage that you haven't seen before, so it's brand spanking new. So it's kind of important to not just use footage from the stream, right? So this makes absolute sense to me. But anyway, I wanted to get into a deep conversation today about Halo, because it seems like, and rightfully so in a lot of ways, depending on how you look at it, but it seems like I am one of the very few people that still not only just still likes Halo, but also has hopes for it still, as crazy or as unusual as that may sound. It's absolutely true. I do have hope for it. I do have hope for the franchise and the series, believe it or not, despite everything that's been happening, especially over the last couple of years or so with Halo. But I'm trying to look at the overall picture. Now, obviously, one thing that we have to understand is that we're never going to get Bungie back on Halo, no matter how much we may want it. So we kind of have to deal with what we have to deal with. But at the same time, here's another thing to be optimistic about. Frank O'Connor, Kiki Wolfkill, and Bonnie Ross, who are basically like three of the big heads at 343, are no longer there. And right now, the guy that was in charge of, resurrecting the Master Chief Collection is in charge of Infinite. And ever since then, over the last 7 months or so, Halo has been slowly but surely kind of been crawling back from where it was. So things are slowly but surely looking better. Obviously, on the 20th of this month, we have another big update. But in order for us, since this is a big, in-depth conversation, in order for us to truly understand this conversation, or for everybody to understand the conversation from so many different points of view, I think it's important to basically start at the beginning, because first of all, not every single one of you have been here for too long. So, and for those of you that are remaining, you still may not even know this, because it's very understandable for every single content creator out there that you're not going to see every single one of their videos, or there's something that you're going to miss, or there's just something specifically that you're not specifically into for whatever reason. There's, when you're a fan of a certain content creator, or excuse me, when you watch somebody or whatever it is that you want to watch, it's like you're only going to watch something that you're interested in, right? So mainly, obviously, this was mainly a Call of Duty channel at some point. However, I'm actually, to a certain degree, I'm kind of surprised that this was never a Halo channel. And in some ways, it should be a Halo channel, or it should have been a Halo channel. And you guys want to know why? The reason why is because Halo was the first multiplayer shooter that I played on console, obviously, and was the first multiplayer shooter that I absolutely fell in love with. And that, to a certain degree, I wanted to get better at, but I was still so very much into playing different games that it just never stuck with me after I was done playing it. I was just, I would be really into it whenever I'd play, but at the same time, I wouldn't know what the hell I was doing, etc., etc. And I didn't even know about the pro scene. I didn't know that the pro scene existed, and a whole bunch of other things. There's so much that I didn't know. As a matter of fact, to my surprise, my friends knew a lot of stuff that I didn't know. And I think they found out through YouTube or whatnot. I wouldn't get into that sort of thing until much later. But ultimately, Halo was that game that I always loved and that I didn't mind grinding. But again, I was also playing multiple different games. Obviously, Call of Duty became that game to where for a long time, specifically the majority of my time here on YouTube, where I would be spending like the majority of my time just playing COD, because I wanted to play COD. And every once in a while I'd throw something else in, like if it was really good, like a God of War or a Mortal Kombat or something like that. But for the most part, it was strictly Call of Duty, or anything related to Call of Duty, or anything multiplayer, or anything multiplayer that would resemble Call of Duty. However, whenever a Halo would come out, whenever a new Halo would come out, it would still be something that I would be interested in, no matter what. Because for me, I didn't always stick with Halo, but Halo always managed to stick with me. So basically, can you imagine, for instance, like when Black Ops 2 came out and when Halo 4 came out? By the way, those games came out within a week of each other. So, can you imagine what that time was like? And it was an amazing time. I had actually stopped teaching martial arts at that point, and I had some time off during that time. And I specifically remember going to GameStop early in the morning to go pick up both of those games, just a week apart from each other. And I would obviously I would put them into the console. They would install or whatnot, and it was just an amazing experience. Now, granted, I don't think installation took as much time, but it was just I couldn't even fully explain. I don't even think you even had to install consoles back then in the 360 era. I mean, there were patches, but that was it. But anyway, yeah, I'd get in there, and of course, it would be an amazing experience because all I had was all day to do those things. So, I would put the disc in, I'd play, I'd get everything ready to go, plenty of water. You know, I might as well have been sitting in my chair with a bedpan or something, because I wasn't going to get up very often, right? So it was a good time. It was a good time, and it was a hell of a time because both of those games were good. Obviously, Black Ops 2 ended up becoming the game that it was. Then Halo 4 ended up becoming the game that it was. And to my knowledge, people actually liked it back in the day. And I absolutely loved Halo 4. And to this day, I still like Halo 4. Whenever I play the Master Chief Collection, I always pre-select the game to search through the filter, either Halo Reach or Halo 4. And I was never one of those players that, even though Halo 4 was the game that I played ever since the beginning and throughout its original inception and from Bungie and everything, I was never one of those players that would think it was such a bad thing if the game implemented things like sprint or kind of almost like a loadout system, or something like a what's it called? Or something like a like the ordnance system that they did. I personally think it actually enhanced the game, but of course the Halo purists will not agree with me. And the thing is, you can't say that I don't know Halo, because when I first started playing Halo, it was when we were system linking it with my friends, I was 18 at the time, right? And Halo came out 2 years before that. Halo, I think, came out when I was 16, and I started playing it when I was 18. I was finally able to get an Xbox and all that. So, and after seeing it, that was it. That's all I needed. One of my friends got an Xbox, and then 3 weeks later, I got an Xbox. And all I needed to do was to see it and to play it, and the rest was history. So, and then the next thing you know, we end up going to his dad's house where there was more room, and we link the TVs together with the systems, and we play the shit out of Halo all freaking day, only stopping to go to the movies or to get some food in the middle of all that. So that's what we did during that one day out of the week, which was usually, I believe, a Monday. So we played a lot of Halo. And even before Xbox Live came out, playing a lot of campaign, although they got together more often and played more often because of transportation and scheduling and stuff like that. But anyway, with that being said, I know and understand Halo. Like when one of the Halo, I call them the Halo purists, right? When one of the Halo purists are pissed off about the game having sprint, or the game having this, or the game having that, or the game not having this or not having that, I understand where they're coming from. You know, there's people out there that are very passionate about, you know, it's no different than being passionate about sports or being passionate about a certain team or a certain player or a certain franchise or the rules of how the game is played. I totally understand it. I understand where these people are coming from, and I respect it. But I was never one of those people. I embraced the changes that the games would offer because, well, for me growing up, that's part of what made a sequel a sequel. Changes are one of those things that are a necessity. But the thing is, I understand also when other people will tell me, like, well, it depends on those changes. Are those the right changes? And the thing is, ultimately, whether those changes are the right changes or not is it's kind of subjective. But the thing is, because of passion and because of all these different things, everybody's going to have different points of view and everything like that. And the thing is, when it comes to, let me just talk about Halo Infinite real quick. When it comes to Halo Infinite, one thing I will say right off the bat is that even those people that are Halo purists or that love Halo or whatnot, or if they're not as optimistic as what I'm about to talk about here, or if they see things differently or whatnot. You have every single right, not just as a person because of your opinion and how you feel, but also because of everything that the Halo community has been through ever since, let's say, 343 took over the franchise up until now. Because it's been a much more rocky road since 343 took over in Halo 4 than it was when Bungie was making the game, right? Because obviously Bungie solidified themselves as absolute legends when they made Halo. Halo 1 was Halo 1. It started it all. Halo 2 started it all with the multiplayer. And then Halo 3 took it to another level. And to this day, Halo 3 is said to be the best multiplayer of them all. Okay? Halo 3 ODST was something that nobody thought was going to be as good as it was, and lo and behold, it was. And Firefight obviously was a stroke of genius, and the game was certainly worth the entire $60 that it was, despite the fact that it didn't have multiplayer. But the Firefight and the co-op kept the game going, and the fact that the campaign itself is a debate among Halo fans as to which Halo campaign was the best. It's like Halo 3 ODST is one of those campaigns that you simply cannot ignore. It is probably, honestly, it's really hard for me to say, to be honest, but it is probably my overall favorite, if not, like, it's so close. I keep going back and forth, but I'd probably say, because all the classic Halo campaigns are terrific, right? Even Halo 4's campaign is great, but not as good as the original trilogy, in my opinion. Although they did do a couple things better than the original trilogy in their campaign in Halo 4, though. But I will say that Halo 3 ODST's campaign was really good. Really solid. So, you know, and of course with the multiplayer. And then Halo Reach was their last title. And Halo Reach was, in my opinion, the ultimate love letter to Halo fans. It came out in, what, 2009, I believe it was? Either 2009 or 2010. And Halo Reach had so much content that it was ridiculous. It had your firefight, and you could co-op it in more ways than before, and so many different customizable ways of playing it and everything, up the wazoo, right? It had your traditional multiplayer, it had your campaign, wasn't there one more mode that it had? Did it also have Forge? I'm pretty sure it had Forge. Like, it was a beastly content game, like for $50, and I think it was worth $50 back then too. For $50, it was absolutely amazing what you would get with Halo 3, with Halo Reach. And I actually love the campaign in that game as well. For me back then with a Halo game, I believe up until Halo 4, or maybe even throughout all the Halos except for Halo 5. Because when Halo 5 came out, I was basically a multiplayer guy more than a campaign guy, although I always liked Halo's campaign, but once I noticed that Halo 5's was shit, I didn't even attempt it. But the thing is, ultimately, with Halo, I was always like playing the campaign first then, and then again, even if Halo 5's campaign was good, I probably would have been a multiplayer guy, because you guys know how I am a multiplayer now. But Halo Reach was, in my opinion, like the ultimate love letter from and farewell love letter to the fans. It literally had everything that they loved about Halo, and then they implemented new things as well. Some of those new things were not very well received, but with that being said, it's not something that you can discredit them for, right? Because they tried new things, and even if they were to make another Halo after Halo Reach, one thing that would have been for sure is they definitely would have learned, and then Halo 4 or whatever Halo they would have made after that would have been incredible. And sure, I like to fantasize of what Halo 4 and Halo 5 and what Halo Infinite would have been like if Bungie made them, right? However, with that being said, that's not the case. So one thing I do want to say, despite what people may think of 343 overall, I will say this: Halo has managed to keep its smooth feeling and great gameplay of its sandbox intact over time. It has. Halo 4 managed to have it. Halo 5 certainly did. And then Halo Infinite is said by a lot of the fans, especially if you take the desync out of the equation, it's said to be basically Halo 3. But like if Halo 3 were made today, this is what it would be like. It reminds them a lot of Halo 3, which is great because Halo 3 is said by a lot of the multiplayer hardcore fans to be the best of the series. Like, everybody considers Halo 3 the best. Most people will consider Halo 3 the best. Just like a lot of Call of Duty multiplayer guys will consider Black Ops 2 the best. Of course, there's going to be other titles that are going to be said in that conversation. But I think it's safe to say from both a competitive standpoint as well as a regular multiplayer standpoint that from the Call of Duty side, most people would probably say that Black Ops 2 is the best. And then on the Halo side, Halo 3 gets that kind of credit. So, and for good reason, of course. However, now we've had 343. And like I've said before, Bonnie Ross, Frank O'Connor, and Kiki Wolfkill are no longer there. They're no longer in charge. They're not there. So now it has been a chance, and it is happening. You know, the game is slowly but surely crawling back to where it needs to be. Unfortunately, the desync is going to be. I've heard there's also been all sorts of things online in terms of whether or not the desync could even be fixed. I even saw a video the other day from a dev that works on a different game explaining that desync is actually not 343's fault. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not sure, but whatever, right? Ultimately, at the end of the day, Halo Infinite is heading in a better direction, especially from where it used to be or from what it was. But with that being said, one thing you got to realize is that when you look at it from a positive standpoint, this franchise, even everything of the ups and downs that it's gone through, one thing that you need to bear in mind is that the potential for this game is still there. And some of you guys might think I'm absolutely crazy to say that. Well, I'm going to explain to you where I'm coming from. And, you know, even if you still disagree with me, regardless of your opinion, that's fine. You know, we can always have a discussion in the comment section down below, which I'm very open to wholeheartedly. And I respect other people's opinion. And just like I said at the very beginning of this video, if you see things from a different standpoint because of everything that's been going on with Halo, with the ups and downs over the recent years, I can't argue with you. I can't and I won't. And I totally see where you're coming from. And there's certainly a part of me, a significant part of me, that agrees with what you're saying and why you're thinking things. Absolutely. However, here's what I'm seeing. Obviously, we've got different leadership in charge now. Okay, great. Hopefully, it's the right leadership, and only time will tell. Now, we're going to be having content drops every 3 months instead of every 6 months, which is great. Now, with that being said, we have Project Tatanka coming up, which is a battle royale. Now, you guys know that I'm not a battle royale player. I don't play the genre. I respect it, but I don't play it. Now, you guys might be asking, well, then why talk about it? Why are you mentioning? Why is it even a thing? Here's where I'm getting at. So, it's made by a completely different crew other than 343, and they're working on the battle royale, and it's going to be, I believe it's rumored to be in Unreal Engine 5. Cool. Now, when that releases, it's going to be under the Halo brand and franchise, obviously. It's going to be a Halo Battle Royale, which obviously is going to be a hit. I'm already telling you it's going to be a hit, and I'll tell you why. Because Halo has every single tool, and even Battle Royale players have said this. Big streamers and small streamers alike, and big content creators and small content creators alike, as well as just fans in general. Halo has every bit of content and lore and, you know, the weapons, the vehicles, the history, and everything we've seen throughout its history and implementation through the multiplayer, the single player, the firefight, everything in between. It's got all the tools to make an absolute epic battle royale. Okay? Now, what does that have to do with the rest of Halo and the multiplayer and all that other stuff? I'll tell you. First of all, it's going to turn people's heads into thinking about and talking about Halo again. So that's obviously a plus. And then I know this is a ways from now. I know this is time away from now. But when the next Halo does eventually release, right? When the next Halo does eventually release, it's obviously going to be an Unreal Engine 5, which is something that's going to be it's being rumored anyway. Some people are even saying, according to YouTube, some people are saying that 343 or a part of 343 is already working on the next iteration of Halo, like the next game, and how Halo Infinite is obviously not going to be a 10-year live service game. So that's another thing. Also, that's only half of the puzzle though, because who owns Halo at the end of the day? Microsoft, right? So they got to get their shit in order too. Well, everything that happened with Redfall recently, as bad as it was a blessing in disguise, because Microsoft, through that fuck up, realized that, like, hey, we can't just let these guys do whatever they want when they want and all that other shit. We can't have, and also through what's happened with Halo, they can't just have these contractors that work for like a year and a half and then be gone after that or something like that, right? They can't do that. So with everything that's happened with Redfall and everything else and stuff like that, it's like, okay, when the next Halo releases, it is unlikely, okay, that they're going to be making a lot of the same mistakes, especially from a development standpoint. Again, I think that these mistakes will not be repeated. And especially when it comes to things like desync and what needs to be at launch and content and stuff like that, because Microsoft needs to have, obviously one of the things they need to have is good first exclusive, which they had during the first 2 generation of consoles, right? And then, well, they have had good, actually, even in the Xbox One era, they had some good exclusives, like Rise, Son of Rome, and then a few others here and there to name. But ultimately, Microsoft needs this at this point. It's their Achilles heel at this point. Having those good exclusives is going to be a big deal. And Halo is the top of that. Now, I know it's been a long time since Halo was at the point when it was when Bungie had it, but it's also because of the timing. However, with that being said, Microsoft still needs to treat Halo as if it's its #1 first-party title. You know, now we've got Gears, we've got a few other things. But with that being said, Halo is still a major player. It's just so happens to be that it's a major player that just happens to be kind of down right now. It just happens to be down right now. And the thing is, some people will even say, well, Jack, it's been down for many years. And again, I understand where you're coming from by saying that. I get it. I understand it. I see why you're saying it. But with that being said, it hasn't been completely down. It's always been a big part of the picture. People have always been hyped for Halo. It just, actually, if you think about it, Halo Infinite was overall the biggest screw up. Even it was even more of a screw up than Halo 5, and obviously Halo 4 was actually received pretty well for the most part. But it just didn't last very long because of the little things here and there. But overall, when you look at it, the franchise still has potential and it can still perform very well if executed correctly on launch. And I think now within the development team, with the change in leadership and with everything that went on with Microsoft and all that other stuff, and obviously with the popularity of Project Tatanka that's going to come, because it will be popular. I know that maybe Battle Royale, it's still a huge genre, but it's obviously it's not as big as it was like a few years ago. At least that's what I hear from people that know more about the subject and the genre than I do. It's not as big as it was. However, with that being said, it's still huge and people still care about it. I mean, you got people that are asking if X Defiant, an upcoming game, is going to have a Battle Royale. And there's a reason why this question is asked. It's still big. So when the Battle Royale Project Tatanka eventually releases, which hopefully will be sooner rather than later, it's going to have people talking about Halo again, even if it is in the Battle Royale. And then when they release the new multiplayer, or like let's say they were to take it to a whole other level and just give a complete overhaul or something like that. I'm just talking out of my ass on this part here. The Halo Infinite or whatnot, right? Just give it a complete overhaul, whatever it is. Which I doubt, but let's just say optimistic. People will get into it. However, a sequel is going to be more proper for that, because if a game's already been released, people are not going to come back to it. Most people are not going to come back to it if you've already lost them, unfortunately. Unfortunately. Because when Halo Infinite came out, there were a lot of players playing it within the first month or two. And then after that, those big numbers that we saw started to drop. And they started to drop a lot. And only the more passionate fans remained. Now, to this day, to my knowledge, on weekdays, we have like 38,000. According to the internet, we got about 38,000 people playing Halo Infinite. I'm not sure if that's overall or if that's both console and PC. I'm not sure. It could be more. I'm not entirely sure. You know what? Let's find out now. I'm gonna search it on Google right now, and I'm gonna get an estimate. Obviously you can't trust Google with everything, but how many Halo? How many players in Halo Infinite? Let's see. Blah blah blah. How many people are playing Halo Infinite multiplayer? There we go. Halo on PC, the player count is on average 3,000 to 4,000. So peaks reaching out 7 or even okay. In recent months, it's actually gone up. So 3,000 to 4,000 each month, and then the player count has its peaks reaching as high as 7,000, even 12,000 in recent months. But that's PC. So okay, here we go. This is more important on Xbox. Here we go. Let's see. Waiting for the damn page. I'm doing this on my laptop. Let's see how many players play on Xbox and PC. Okay, here we go. This is a much better article here. Halo Infinite player count is a point of interest of many fans of the classic online shooter series. Halo Infinite has not had the easiest go of it, of course not. And the player count since its launch reflects that. Here's everything you need to know about how many people on Xbox make up the Halo Infinite player count. Okay, great. PC players. Let's see. Let's see. Ain't available on Steam. Let's see what. Okay.
Target spotted.
That's the Master Chief Collection. Blah blah blah. Why are you telling me all this other info? I want player count, please. It started a strong average player count of over 100,000 players in its first month, and this for PC alone, but every subsequent month saw a drop after drop until each month saw an average player count of low to mid thousands. Coming into 2023, Halo Infinite is holding at an average PC player count of 3,000 to 4,000 each month. The player count is its peaks reaching up to 7,000, even 12,000 in recent months. So that's good that it's kind of gone up. Now on Xbox, here we go. It says, what is, come on, keep going down. Why do these pages always do this? Can't scroll down because these advertisements. Thank you. There are no players more dedicated to Halo franchise than Xbox fans. The Xbox is home turf for Halo Infinite. Blah blah. According to Statista.com, the number of Xbox Live users has increased dramatically over the years. Halo Infinite is currently the 15th most popular game on Xbox. So we cannot estimate a clear number based on the information, but it would seem safe to say that Halo Infinite is much more popular in the Xbox than it is on PC. So if you want to play it and if you want to know where most people are, Xbox would be the way to go.
Power weapons on the way.
Okay. Okay. So we have like what, 120 million players playing on Xbox Live or something like that? So, yeah. So, I mean, ultimately it's unclear according to this. But let's see at another article here. How many people are playing Halo Infinite multiplayer? I've already kind of answered. That's for PC. Oh, how many people are Halo Infinite right now? It is 3 in the morning. Like right now it says 7,113 players online, but is that player counter? Here we go. But maybe that's not even, well, that's Halo Infinite, but is that for, what is that for? Is that for PC or is that everybody? Let's see here. Blah 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 about Halo. Top countries playing Halo, the United States, obviously, and then the UK. Wow. Okay, well, ultimately we don't know, but I found like some other day I did more time to research this, and it was like I think it's like about to say 30 to 40,000 people. There are about 21,000 playing Halo Infinite right now at all platform reports. Here we go. Active player. Here's another one. I'm gonna look at this because this might be counting statistics. Blah blah blah. So online, so quick stats, live player. Okay, so right now online players in the last hour, 22,686, like right now, and it's 3 in the morning. So
where that came from. Power items available.
above is the counter Halo Infinite live player count number of games straight from stats.com. Halo blah 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 blah. So, okay, live monthly chart. So, let's say the last 30 days. It's held steady. It's held steady. Like, December was the last time when it was really big. Hold on, let me look at these bars right here. What does it say? Average daily players. Okay, what's the average daily players according to this? And we're looking at... What are we looking at? Okay, we're probably looking at around 30,000. It's been holding steady at around 30,000, give or take. What's this? Monthly gain or loss, okay. And then what's the average monthly? So, average daily players. Yeah, so average daily players, you're looking at somewhere probably around the 20 to 30,000 mark. So let's just say optimistically 30,000. There you go. So I saw that on the chart. But those numbers have gone down tremendously because I'm looking at like November, obviously, of 2001. Yeah, we were at 200K. And then December a little less, and then it maintained steadiness up until about a year ago. And then since August of last year, it started to drop, and then after December of last year, it really dropped. And then ever since then, it's just been kind of holding at where we are now. But in March, it kind of gained a little bit. There was a gain in March. But we'll see what happens. And then obviously in the last 30 days, there's been a loss. Oh. So, what's that blue one? Okay, monthly play. And that's a table, so monthly gain or loss, negative 39,406. Monthly gain or loss, negative 6.75%. So average daily players, 36,293. So yeah, I was right. So it goes up and down, actually. And then there was a while for that it kept on going down. But so like in December, we had 170,000, and then yeah, 180,000 or whatnot, and then after that it dropped dramatically to 37,000, and it's been holding steady though, from 37 and then down to 32 and then back up to 38 and then 38. So yeah, and then 36. So we've been holding steady for like, I'll tell you, January, March, yeah, for the last 6 months we've been holding steady, but again, it's like at 36, 37,000. So I was right. I was right from the previous stats that I looked up. So so yeah, that is where we are right now in the Halo Infinite player count. We're doing, I mean, obviously the game is playable. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And then there's people that are still interested in Halo. There's no doubt about that. And the franchise itself cannot be underestimated, and there's no doubt about that. However, the problem is that a lot of players have gone, a significant amount of them. And that's because for the longest time, there's been a lack of content within a game, and players have been bored, even the hardcore ones. So the thing is, like I mentioned earlier, once you lose, players, you won't get them back, and if you do, it may not be anytime soon. You see what I'm getting at? So, like, because once you have certain players, or the majority of your players, you need to keep them, and how you keep them depends solely on the way you handle your franchise and the content that you provide. So this is one of the reasons why it's important to update your game on a regular basis, you know. And for the longest time, like 6 months, I'm sorry, but 6 months until the next update or whatnot is a really long time for, you know, any game. Actually, they've cut it down to 3 now, which is great, but it would be really cool if they did something like every month, bro. Like every month. Like, I understand that games take a lot more time to make now, and games are longer, they're more complicated, they're this, they're that. But it's like, in my mind, I'm thinking, is it because of the damn engine that the game itself is struggling as much as it is? Is it really the engine? I mean, I guess it is. I guess the engine was supposed to be like a gift from God, so, right, in every single way, shape, or form, and then I guess it gave them a whole bunch of other problems that made everything long and complicated, and God knows what else. I'm assuming it's something like that, but we don't fully know. We don't fully understand. I don't know. We don't know this. Or actually, we do know to a certain extent, at least from what we've heard from other YouTube channels and other YouTube content creators. But with that being said, is that what's going on? And then, of course, you lost the original project lead. So it's like, when this stuff happens, it's usually a bad sign. So as of right now, if there's nothing major that goes down in Halo in terms of, like, if we don't lose any more people that are of importance, and what I mean by importance is, like, for instance, if the guy that's in charge of the game now, the guy that basically brought the Master Chief Collection back to, you know, when he basically resurrected it, like, if this guy leaves all of a sudden, then we've got some problems, like some red flags. So those are a few of the things that I would be looking at. I would absolutely like, there's another part of me, right? There's another part of me that says it would be kind of interesting to see what would happen if Halo was, like, if somebody else was in charge of Halo. I mean, it's always an interesting conversation to have, sure. But I'm starting to wonder, I mean, like, if things let's just say everything and my optimism, let's say my optimism ends up going nowhere and nothing good happens of Halo. Not necessarily like indifference in terms of what I'm predicting or what I'm thinking, but I'm saying, like, let's say nothing happens with Halo, right? Let's say let's just say Halo's never able to pick itself back up again, right? Okay, cool. Now, let's say that doesn't happen. Nothing happens, okay? Okay, cool. Should Microsoft just make Halo multi-platform? Should they just turn it into a third-party franchise, and then whoever, you know, whatever team wants to take it, takes it? What do you think? You know, do you think it's time for Halo to become a third-party franchise? I mean, do you think that that's maybe what the franchise needs? Obviously, it's gotten to another level with PC and everything, which is great. But it is a solid question to ask. It is a solid question to ask. It's a legitimate question to ask. Should Halo become a third-party franchise? So, my answer to that is maybe. It could help. It might be an answer. But another important question is, does Halo itself need an overhaul? Does the gameplay need an upgrade? Does that need to change? I have this philosophy, and a lot of other people do, you know, don't change what's not broken, or don't fix something that's not broken. But with that being said, I know that this is video games, so do we need an update? Like, does Halo need an update? Does the gameplay of Halo just need to change? Does the way you get kills need to change? Does it need to go away from being like this hipfire type of style game? Or do you just introduce other options? But the thing is, every single time you do introduce other options, you end up Like, a lot of people have been pissed off, but exactly how pissed off are they? What if they just have an option as opposed to, hey, this is the way you're forced to play? What if we just made it optional? What I mean is, let's say, you know, you've got your ADS like you do in Call of Duty. Well, what if you can ADS like that in Halo, but it was optional? Like, do you want to play traditional or do you want to play ADS style? Or what if they had for pubs, also known as social in Halo, what if they had it to where there was at least a game mode to where you had like half of the shields that you do now? So that way getting kills would be faster, because the reason why I say this is because the pacing of a lot of games changed over the years, and which is understandable. But a lot of players, like, Halo became big. One of the reasons why Halo became big in the first place, because it was the first to do what it did. It was the only option that we had, and everybody loved it, and nobody knew any better. However, when a game like Call of Duty came out, it became more popular than Halo in just a handful of years, because it was more accessible. And what I mean by accessible is, well, obviously it's easier to get a kill in COD than it is in Halo, right? And then, of course, you had the combination of that and the options, right? With the create a class, and you can customize your weapon, blah, 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 which you couldn't do in Halo. So, in terms of attachments and stuff like that. So, it's like, does Halo need to take a piece of that and put it into their game? Like, to where, you know, you would have like half the shield. So let's say a battle rifle kill is, obviously, if you get a perfect, it's in 4 shots. But most people get a battle rifle kill in 5 to 6 shots in terms of average, right? They'll miss at least one headshot and then whatever, okay? So it's like, what if that 5 to 6 shot kill were to be reduced to, like, let's say a 3 to a 4, right? Like, a perfect would be a 3, and then a 4 would be, you know, and then what if you actually increased the rate in terms of which the shots are fired as well to make it slightly even faster, right? And then you've got the combination of the fact that, you know, you could either play from the hip, or you could fire, you know, ADS style or whatever. You know, what if that was changed? Would the Halo community be open to that? That's the thing. Or like, or at least in a social playlist, so to speak, right? Would the community be open to that? And then obviously, I mean, what if it was popular enough to where it would be competitive like that? But I think maybe in competitive Halo, you can just keep it the way it is currently, where it takes a longer time to kill and stuff like that. Because I've come to realize, because it's not just about me and what I like, right? I mean, I don't mind Halo's time to kill. It's as high as I'm willing to go. Obviously, Destiny's time to kill is higher than COD's too, but it's not as, you know, it's gunfights. I don't think they last long. I mean, granted, I also haven't watched Destiny 11, but it's comparable. Let's just say it's comparable to Halo. Halo for me is like the longest I want my gunfights to last before it just becomes too boring or too whatever, right? So for me, I would say for a lot of players, they may not hold that opinion, and the majority of players that play these types of games might want something faster. Did it ever, maybe it's possible that Halo, from a multiplayer perspective, even when it's in its prime, maybe it's not as popular as a game like Call of Duty or a few other popular games out there because of that time to kill and the way you get those kills. So what if we change that? That's the big question. Like, if we were to change that, would that ruin Halo or would that enhance it? And it all depends on what your definition of enhancing or ruining is, which makes it very interesting. On one hand point, it might enhance things because you'll get a higher player count, but at the same time, will it be Halo? That's the thing. Like, when they introduced jetpacks to Call of Duty, certain players didn't play those games, or, you know, they didn't for too long because it just wasn't Call of Duty to them because of the jetpacks, because Call of Duty was a quote-unquote boots-on-the-ground game. And that's why we've only seen 3 years of jetpacks. And only one of those 3 years was what I would call successful with Black Ops 3. And then people got over it real quick and they wanted to go back to boots on the ground. So there's also a possibility that it may be, if implemented correctly, it may be a temporary thing that people might like with Halo, but in the long run they might not. So there's a back and forth about this, because depending on who you talk to, it's like, I mean, I want to, like, I wish I could actually have a conversation with my friends that I played multiplayer with that I told you about back in the day, how we used to get together on Mondays. I wish we could sit down, I could have a seat with them and bring them into this conversation. I wish we would throw a podcast on and have every single one of them as a guest of this podcast, and we'd have this conversation, because like it's a legit question to ask, and it's all about the viewpoint. And the thing is, we were all around when Halo was popular, and all of us actually got into COD as well. Well, a handful of us, like half of us did. I did, my best friend did, and our friend of a friend did, that hung out with us regularly, right? So we've loved and seen both sides. I mean, I remember my best friend, he grinded all through all the prestiges in Black Ops 1, and he even did it at work, you know? So he was able to do it at work, and he even stayed at work for longer hours so that way he could finish grinding prestige, you know, because that's the way it was, and it helped pass the time at work and everything like that. So ultimately it's, and remember, going through prestiges back then in Black Ops 1 through all prestiges was big. I mean, it was 15 of them as well, but you guys get the point. The thing is, when you see things from multiple points of view, it's like, okay, what needs to happen with Halo in order for it to come back from, I mean, maybe it will never be what it used to be, obviously, because of timing and stuff like that, but it can be a major player. And right now it's not where it needs to, it's not where it should be. So that's what I keep thinking. I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, what can we do? What needs to be done? So I'm legitimately wondering, what do you guys think needs to be done? Like, what can we do to make the game relevant again? Now, I know it's relevant to the passionate fan base, right? The 36,000 daily players, right? Which is only like maybe 20-25% of the entire player base if you look at the amount of players that were playing when this game came out for a while in comparison to who we have now, right? Let's just say optimistically that the passionate players are 25% of the entire player base, which could very well be accurate from a mathematical standpoint. Now, what do we do? Do we change things up? Or do we stick to our guns and just do it better? And the question is, to a certain extent, can we do both? And if so, what kind of changes need to be implemented while keeping the game at its foundation solid that will simultaneously attract all the Halo fan base as well as the newcomers, right? Because newcomers are important, you know, it's because ultimately, you know, the game needs to not just survive and thrive, but again, there's going to be generations of players that are going to play it throughout time. Like Master Chief Collection, even though the player count isn't like, you know, anything to brag about, but people still play Master Chief Collection a lot to this day, right? And that's important because at some point, you know, look at CSGO, for instance. CSGO has been around for a while and they're still thriving. I don't know if it was the way it was in its prime. I'm not sure. I'm not as familiar, but CSGO is still thriving. It's still a thing. So think about that for a minute. If you think about it, Halo is actually kind of like the CSGO, but for Xbox as opposed to PC. So, and it deserves, right? It deserves an upgrade, but done properly. It deserves the proper treatment to make everybody happy, but done properly. And that's been the big thing, is that it hasn't been done properly. But the interesting thing is that properly is a little subjective. Like, what is proper? You know, some people will say, hey, the gameplay needs to change. Some other people will say, well, no, we need to go back to what made us great in the first place. And some people will say, well, all we need really is content. And it may well be it could be that simple. It could be. But again, it's a constant mystery in terms of what we want to see players do and how we want to see players play. So what attracts the Halo community now is not necessarily 100% the same of what it used to be previously. So, and that's the biggest question. It's like, what does Halo need to do to survive and thrive again and be relevant? Actually, you know what? Forget that. What does Halo need to do to be relevant? And remember, in Halo terms, relevant means, you know, a top contender. Because Halo was a top contender up until a certain point. You know what I mean? So even for a while, people were playing Halo Infinite for a while, you know? So, and that's the aggravating thing about Halo as well, is because the potential is there, right? The potential is there, but it just needs to be done right. That's the thing. And it's a very difficult question to answer, in my opinion. It's a very difficult question to answer because we've seen a lot more games now. We've gotten our variety now. Halo is no longer that game that, you know, everybody played for this reason anymore. We've had Call of Duty now. We've had Overwatch. We've had, you know, all these different games. And we're not just talking PC. We're talking obviously console, right? We've had Titanfall, and we've had, you know, we've had a lot. Gears of War, another one. So now that we've gotten our variety, maybe that answer isn't so black and white anymore. And it's a tough one to answer. So so I guess we should resort to trial and error. So what we've been trying perhaps hasn't been working. Obviously, the big thing right now with Halo is that it's with Halo Infinite specifically was that its execution was off. You know, I hate to say it, but it's true, because it launched without a team deathmatch, which was absolutely like, oh my goodness, or should I'm sorry, Team Slayer, which was a mistake, and among other things, and lack of content, all that stuff, right? It wasn't where it needed to be, unfortunately. However, with that being said, I think that the game itself could very well be easily fixed if implemented properly. However, if it is, and if people don't respond right, then that would probably mean that Halo needs an overhaul. Like, it needs a big change. So the question that I have is, what change does it need? What is the proper way to go? And the answer to that is, I don't know. I don't know. I can keep going back and forth all day, and I simply do not know. I honestly think that ultimately the franchise is always going to have potential. But it can't take that many more hits. Because if it does, Halo can still... It's not an invincible franchise. Eventually what's going to happen is that people will forget about it after a while. And that's not good. So, because the franchise itself deserves more, and it's done more, right? So ultimately, what needs to happen is that the devs with Halo Infinite need to do a great job with these next few updates within the next 6 to 9 months. Tatanka needs to be a hit. And then the next Halo that follows Tatanka, or whatever they're going to do, needs to be beefy. It needs to have a ton of content. It needs to be fun. It needs to be accessible. And it needs to give people a reason to play. And then if it does it right, word of mouth, especially with today's technology and the internet, will hopefully be enough to bring the game back to where it should be. And those are my thoughts on Halo. And that's what I think. So I want to know down in the comments section what you guys think. I mean, am I right? Am I wrong? Am I talking out of my ass this whole time? Is Halo dead at this point? We just don't know it yet. What needs to happen with Halo? So anyway, I'm out. Thank you very much for listening and or watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.